Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, given the state of the world out there now more than ever, it's just important to be able to laugh. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you are in the seats with, once more, as always. My name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, in a light and in a conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do, because you're listening right now. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can give us that subscribe, that 5-star rating, the big old thumbs up. You can find us over at Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Google, basically wherever you get your podcasts. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel, so if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to follow us on social media. You can find us at In the Seats. We are at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large, because if we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please pay us a visit. Well, on this episode, we're a little late on this one, but it's a good one. We're having a laugh. And it's something that's streaming on CBC Gem now. It's a little short series from our friends over at JFL, otherwise known as Just For Laughs, and it's called The New Wave of Standup. It was filmed during the 2022 Just For Laughs Vancouver Festival, and it showcases a new group of Canadian comedians who are really on the brink of making it big. And I mean, there are some incredibly funny people in here, and we had the distinct pleasure of sitting down and talking with one Nick Nemeroff just about how he was approached for the series and just sort of life as a stand-up and, so on and so forth. But it was a fun talk we had with Nick, which I hope you enjoy. And go check out his set on CBC Gem, which is streaming now. It was a good one.
No, I mean, obviously, first off, man, just congrats that you're featured on the show, man. I mean, that's super cool. I guess my first question on something like that is, I mean, obviously booking JFL is one thing, but like, do you know you're going to be on TV, or does that something come later? Like, where does the initial pitch to sort of have you take part in the series?
They sort of laid it all out, at least in the email that I saw. They were like, it's streaming for CBC Gem, taping 10 minutes of your best stuff. And so I knew that there would be the taping element of it, which is obviously very exciting, and then also puts more pressure on it because you want it to be good if it's going to be seen by people. But yeah, it just starts with an email.
Well, I got to imagine that it definitely sort of, because I've got to imagine you have a set and then you'll have your TV set or your TV material. Like, how do you sort of go about sort of figuring out what's going to be in the regular set, and okay, maybe this is the stuff I save for TV kind of thing?
Yeah, I am, I think, fortunate in that a lot of my material is not necessarily like, super crazy dirty or whatever, not fit for TV. Kind of all falls in that. It's more like just getting in the right sort of an order that makes sense, I guess, because when you're doing open mics or doing shows and stuff every night in Toronto, it can kind of you can just talk about whatever. There's not really a cohesion that needs to take place. But when you're like crafting together a set for TV, you kind of want it to flow in some sort of logical way, if you can, ideally.
No, I mean, I think you mentioned this on your segment, just about your style being aggressively deadpan, which is a fantastic description, by the way. But
yeah, that was somebody, I think I said that in the thing too, but somebody described it that way, and I always will remember that and use that to describe it as well.
No, but I mean, I'm curious, when you're going into, like, when you're doing stand-up, I've got to imagine, like, do you cultivate a style, or is it just a question of trial and error and trying to find your voice as you're sort of getting out there and doing it? Like, where does the style come from, I guess, is my question.
I think definitely trial and error was part of it at the beginning, because or at least for me, I had no even performing experience really. Like, I didn't do like theater, I didn't do improv, which I know some comedians have done in high school and stuff. We just didn't have that, and so just kind of all the influences that I really loved, they stuck with me, I guess. And I sort of was doing, a bad impression of all those people. And then, doing it a million times, just sort of eventually developed my own kind of voice that I think is clearly influenced by some of them, but at least stands also on its own kind of thing.
Now, for you, has stand-up always been sort of the goal, like the career goal, to want to be a stand-up and be a working stand-up, or are there other sort of ideas down the line for you?
I think for me, stand-up was the only thing that I wanted to do forever. And I think still is the main thing I want to do. But I was, I think from stand-up too, it kind of shows your ability as a performer, an actor, and a writer and stuff. So I guess I do like doing some of those stuff, or all those things as well. But I think stand-up for me is still the most fun because it has the most immediate, gratification, I guess, from just doing a joke and getting the laugh right away.
Was there a moment sort of in the younger days that made you want to get into this business?
I don't know if there's a specific moment. I think it was just like the only thing I could think of wanting to do with my life from the age of 12 up. Well, I guess that and like being a hockey player, but I don't think I knew at 12 that I didn't have the ability, but I was like, I am kind of funny for a 12-year-old, so maybe I can do comedy.
Now, I mean, I'm kind of curious just because it's like being a stand-up is such a unique job. And I mean, from an entertainer standpoint and from a performance standpoint, people don't always understand. I guess the right word is how on you need to have to be. Like if there's a heckler, if there's something else going on. I mean, obviously I won't reference what happened the other day on television, but it's part of the business that, you may tell a joke that doesn't land. And I mean, I'm kind of curious, how do you sort of walk through those waters?
So I think that's also trial and error of like, you don't know how bad it feels to tell a joke and then nobody laughs until that happens to you. And then in the first, few years of doing comedy, that happens a lot because A, you're not very good. B, you're doing bad rooms. So like it's a combo that doesn't really, it's a combo that I think weeds a lot of people out because it's so harsh and not fun. But I think I just wade those waters I think now I sort of enjoy that live element to it. Not that I enjoy somebody heckling, but like I enjoy the sort of unpredictability and the sort of presence that you have to be in on stage. And I think that part kind of excites me.
No, why do you think I like in watching your segment? And I mean, also I did some research and you've been on Conan and you've done some other stuff. Your style does tend to fit for TV. Like, I'm kind of curious from your perspective, why do you think your sort of delivery and your style actually works for, or is it like, I don't want to say television friendly because that makes it sound PG and you're not, but it feels like it fits. It feels like it's like, it's a comfortable fit, as it were. Like, what do you think your style works so well sort of in the TV format?
I don't know. I think I always like put such an emphasis on the writing and the actual jokes themselves and the kind of, surprises and misdirections and stuff. And I feel like if you're watching and paying attention, the like that just, I think helps the comedy sort of stand out on its own. And so I don't know why it works out better on TV, but I'm happy that it does.
How sort of conscious is the stand-up community just of, I mean, I guess like what CBC Gem has done here by putting the series together and creating content that can feature more people? Because, I mean, obviously it's a tough business. It's hard to get attention, but it does feel like these days there are more opportunities, at least, that are able to be fought for. Like, is the community sort of conscious of, hey, wait a minute, some of this web streaming, content will allow me to get my stuff out there more?
For sure. I think it's also, representative of the glut of amazing comedy talent that is in Canada right now.
Right.
And I think over the last, at least since I've been doing it 8-9 years, like there's just so many good comics that nobody knows, unfortunately, just because of, I guess how good America is at like plugging themselves and promoting themselves and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of takes over even the Canadian market. But I think hopefully, with the streaming of CBC Gem and all these different festivals now, like JFL Vancouver, JFL Toronto, JFL Montreal, obviously, like all those comics now getting more opportunities and sort of seeing that you can make more of a career and a name for yourself in Canada, I think is hopefully just going to encourage more people and new funny people as well to come out and try stand up.
How do you think the business of stand-up evolves or has evolved over the years, and how could it evolve going forward? Because, I mean, obviously, when people think stand-up, they're obviously like small clubs or they're thinking comedy festivals, but at the same time, there are the outliers like a Kevin Hart or a Chris Rock who can fill stadiums.
Yeah. I think the business of comedy, I think it's becoming like, I think obviously comedians are getting more control over their own career, because I think in the past you kind of had to be reliant on those kinds of clubs and
Right.
like road gigs and all that kind of stuff. And I think now the way you can have, an online following, either Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok or whatever, and you can sort of do a show in a city and, I mean, I'm not in this vein, but I know other comics who like can do a show in a city and like just sell it out just because it's like all your fans who know you who want to come see it. Whereas in the past, it's like if you're doing a show in a city and there was no way to have like 20,000 other people know that you were doing that show with like the push of a button, then you would probably have a much harder time. So I think it's becoming more, I think comedians are getting more control over their own careers probably.
Well, I mean, I've got to imagine that's a good thing at the end of the day. Just it allows for more creative freedom and more opportunity. And I mean, I'm kind of curious. Like you said at the beginning, like you didn't necessarily have a moment or a reason why you want to get in, but you understood you were funny. Like going forward, is the career goal basically to pay the bills and do what I love and be a stand-up, or are there sort of aspirations for the action comedy or going down to New York and doing SNL or that kind of thing? Like for you, how do you see sort of the years going forward?
I think I've learned to just ride the wave that comes with doing comedy. So I try not to assume or picture too much, because I know how, especially with COVID just sort of
Right.
taking away comedy for about a year and a half, 2 years. Not assume nothing is given. So I think the ultimate goal for me is just to keep doing comedy and become a better and better comedian as I go on, and just sort of I think I want to have the way that I loved Mitch Hedberg and Todd Barry and stuff as a kid. I feel like that is the feeling that will keep me going, and just sort of I think making those jokes that people can laugh about in 20 years from now, and just sort of bringing that sort of same energy and fun to people, I think is my ultimate goal.
Well, and I mean that energy and fun can be brought to people now in so many different ways, like this streaming series on Gem. And I mean, I'm so happy you're a part of it, man, because I love your set and just I'm a fan now, honestly, man. And just congrats on the work and keep it up. And we'll talk soon. But again, thanks for bringing the funny back. I mean, it never left, but now we get to see it in a new way, like we are here at Gem.
There we go. Exactly. Thank you for having me, David. Great talking with
cheers,
you.
Nick.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.